I had barely unpacked my last duffel bag when the call came. 1 minute, I was trying to figure out how to live without a 4 a.m. base wake-up call. The next, I was being told my grandfather was dying. Stage 4, the lawyer said. You should come home. Just like that. Coming home wasn't in the plan. Not that I had one. But it sure didn't involve driving back to Hawthorne Springs where the gossip is louder than the church bells, and the air smells like wet pine and unresolved family trauma. I pulled into the driveway 3 days later. The house hadn't changed. Big white porch, blue shutters, the same creaky swing that had been broken since 2008, but something felt off. Cold. Like the walls were watching me. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. I stepped inside. No voices, no Harper, no smell of coffee or pie. Just silence. It was louder than I remembered. Then I saw them. My mother, Denise, and her favorite weapon, a clipboard. She was standing in the sunroom, flanked by my cousins Troy and Kimberly, and some guy in a suit I didn't recognize. They looked like they were finalizing a business deal. The mood? Not grieving, more efficient. She looked up, saw me, and offered the smile people use when they want something from you but wish you'd disappear. Harper, she said. You're early. Grandpa has cancer, I said, as if they hadn't heard. Yes, she replied. We've started preparing. It's a lot to manage. Preparing? He's still alive. On the table were property appraisals, insurance documents, bank statements laid out like a buffet of inheritance. My grandfather's life turned into numbers. It hit me right then. They weren't mourning. They were organizing. I asked where he was. Upstairs, Mom said without looking up. He's resting. The tone made it clear didn't disturb. I went up anyway. Footsteps echoing on wood, like the house itself didn't trust me. Grandpa was by the window, blanket around his shoulders, eyes somewhere far beyond the backyard. For a moment, I wondered if he even knew I was there. Then he turned and smiled like I'd never left. You came, he said. Simple. Soft. Of course I did, I replied. We sat in silence. It was not awkward, it was more like we both needed a second to remember what being near each other felt like. The man who taught me how to shoot a rifle and gut a fish now looked like the wind could take him out. I hated it. Downstairs, a door slammed. Laughter followed. Troy's voice. Then Kimberly. It didn't fit the scene I was in. I didn't expect to see them laughing, I said quietly. Grandpa didn't answer. His eyes narrowed slightly, like he was listening, but he was not surprised. I got a weird feeling the second I walked in, I added. Like I was crashing a party I wasn't invited to. They think I'm dying, he said. I know. They're splitting everything already. I nodded. Then he looked at me with a flicker of something I hadn't seen in years. Sharpness, awareness. They didn't even blink, Harper, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. But you keep your eyes open. You watch. This wasn't a deathbed confession. This was an order. And the test wasn't for Theme, it was for me. They're dividing your life, I said, still trying to process. I know, he said, and I want you to watch. Let that one sink in for a second. I had just left 6 years of service thinking I'd finally get a break. Instead, I walked straight into a family battlefield and the older man had chosen me as his second in command. Before continuing, comment below if your family acted too excited when someone got sick. And don't forget to subscribe. You're going to want to hear how this ends. Grandpa leaned in closer. Don't trust anyone downstairs, especially not your mother. That one hurt, not because I disagreed, but because I already knew he was right. I looked him in the eye. What do you want me to do? He took a shaky breath. Just pay attention. They're not hiding it. They never thought you'd matter. And just like that, I wasn't just a granddaughter visiting her sick grandpa. I was the only one in the house who sensed the truth. And the only one left who hadn't turned. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the creaky guest bed or the old pipes rattling in the walls. It was the silence. The kind that tells you you're not welcome, but doesn't say it out loud. At breakfast, no one acknowledged me. Troy talked about interest rates like he'd suddenly become Warren Buffett. Kimberly asked about the summer cabin as if she were picking out new throw pillows, and my mother instructed the housekeeper that I wasn't sitting 2 chairs down. I'd seen enemy captains treat prisoners with more warmth. I poured myself coffee, only enough left for half a cup, and sat through 20 minutes of estate talk like I wasn't even breathing air. When I finally spoke, just one sentence. Has anyone asked Grandpa what he wants? The whole room paused like I'd farted in church. Denise looked at me like I was a sad minor inconvenience. Sweetheart, your grandfather isn't in a state to make decisions. The doctors were clear. Funny, I said. He seemed pretty lucid last night. Her eyes narrowed, not a flicker of surprise, just irritation. Let's not pretend you understand end-of-life care because you played soldier for a few years. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. That was her move, dismiss and diminish. She was good at it. It did to me my whole life. After breakfast, I wandered into Grandpa's study. It used to be off-limits when I was a kid. Now it was the family command center. Legal pads, printed charts, asset maps. I'd seen less paperwork during briefings on military airstrikes. I picked up a spreadsheet. It listed estimated values of every property and every account. It even had suggested ownership distribution. Kimberly, Lakeside House, Troy, commercial lot, Westfield, Denise, primary estate and controlling interest in CDG. Me? Nothing. Not even a line. I put the sheet down. Footsteps behind me. I turned. It was Denise. This isn't your place, she said, calm, clipped, not angry, just final. I didn't move. He's still alive. Yes. And when he passes, everything will already be in order. That's how responsible families handle transitions. By excluding people? She walked past me, grabbed a folder, and flipped it open without looking. You've never been involved in the business. You left. You walked away. I'm doing what has to be done. And you mean what benefits you? She looked up then, finally. You think this is about greed? I think you planned this the moment you heard cancer. A pause. Then a smirk. I didn't plan it. I accepted it. You don't even know if he's dying. The doctors do. Which doctors? The ones you pay? Her smile vanished. Watch yourself. I stepped closer. He's not even sick, Mom. That one landed. I saw it just for a second, a flicker of something that wasn't rage or disdain. It was fear. She recovered fast. You're exhausted. You're confused. I'm going to give you a day to cool off. What happens after that? If you're still here, we'll have a more serious conversation. I knew that tone. It meant, pack your bag or get crushed. I left the room before I said something I couldn't take back. The housekeeper passed me in the hallway and smiled. A real one. First and only one I'd seen since I arrived. I went upstairs. Grandpa was asleep, or pretending again. I sat beside him, but I didn't say a word. Just watched his chest rise and fall, slow and steady. I was trained to read body language, micro-expressions, and breathing patterns. They can mean the difference between walking out or getting zipped up in a flag in combat. And right now, everything about this house screamed danger, the kind you don't shoot your way out of. When I went back downstairs, they were in the dining room again. This time, reviewing insurance terms. Troy was asking if the life policy was payout guaranteed. Kimberly was complaining about having to drive to the notary's office. I stood at the doorway and said nothing, just listened. We can put the summer house in my name now, Kimberly said, tapping her phone. Do it, Denise replied. Troy added, we should wrap the business side before Monday. That way if anything changes, we're already set. Number Watt X from Want to. Anything changes? Meaning if Grandpa suddenly doesn't be on schedule? I turned away. I didn't feel like a granddaughter. I felt like a ghost. And I knew I had a choice. I could pack my bags, go back to trying to figure out post-military life in a town that didn't remember my name, or I could stay and see just how far they were willing to go. I stayed. The next morning, the house was quiet, in a way that didn't feel accidental. The kind of quiet people use to shut someone out. Even the coffee pot was empty. Again. I carried a fresh mug upstairs, still hot, hoping Grandpa was awake. He wasn't in bed. For a second, my heart jumped. But then I heard a chair creak by the window. He was there, wrapped in that worn cardigan I remembered when I was 5, staring out toward the oak trees. You slept at all? I asked. He smiled. Better than you, I bet. I sat next to him, careful not to spill the coffee. You remember the summer we built that treehouse? He said. Troy cried 'cause the nails were loud. You climbed up before I even put the ladder in. I also fell off and broke my wrist. He chuckled. Best damn cast drawing I ever saw. You made the whole thing look like a tiger. For a second, it felt like things weren't broken. Like this house wasn't full of parasites in designer sweaters. He looked over at me, quieter now. They think I'm dying. I know. He sipped the coffee, slowly. And then he looked straight at me. I lied. My breath caught in my chest. I told them I had cancer. I told them I was dying. I had a doctor friend sign off on it. I needed to know. Know what? Who was loyal? Who was waiting to see me off like an Amazon return? I stared at him. You staged your own deathbed? I gave them the script, he said. They performed better than I expected. No. I didn't know if I was angry or impressed. You're not sick? He shook his head. Not the way they think. I leaned forward. What about the doctor? An old hunting buddy. Owes me more than a few favors. I stared at the carpet, stunned. I told them the word cancer. I never said I was terminal. That was their addition. They made the funeral playlist before I finished the sentence. My hands curled into fists. He watched me. You haven't asked why I'm telling you this. I figured that part out. He nodded. You're the only one who didn't ask about money. Or titles. Or the business. That doesn't mean I'm happy you faked it. He looked down at his hands. I didn't know how else to see them clearly. They're your kids. They were, now they're shareholders. He looked up at me. But you? You're still family. That's why I need you. For what? He stood slowly, joints cracking, and motioned for me to follow him into his bedroom. He pointed to the fireplace. Check behind the painting. What am I looking for? Just move it. I reached up and slid the frame sideways. Behind it, a narrow panel, a hidden latch, like something out of a spy movie. I opened it. A small wall safe. Combination's your birthday, he said. The safe clicked open. Inside. Papers. Legal ones. One thick envelope labeled in sharp handwriting. For Harper. I opened it slowly. His real will. I scanned the names. My hands started shaking. It was all left to me. Everything. The house. The businesses. The land. But there was one problem. A note was at the bottom of the last page, just above the witness line. To be signed in presence of Robert Ellison ESQ, upon final decision. It wasn't signed. He hadn't finalized it. I looked over at him. Why didn't you sign this? I wasn't sure. I thought maybe they'd come around. But they showed me who they are. And now... His voice trailed off. You realize they'll fight this, I said. I expect them to. That's why I need your help. He walked back to the chair by the bed, slower this time. They'll notice I'm not dying soon. I need to act before they do. And I need someone watching my back. I folded the papers and slid them back into the safe. Do you trust me with this? You're a soldier, he said. If I can't trust you, I'm already gone. I stood there, feeling a dozen emotions I couldn't name. And then I locked the safe. The quiet outside his window wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of quiet before a storm. And the forecast? Full-blown family war. I waited until midnight. The house was dark, but I knew better than to assume that meant people were asleep. In this place, most of the betrayals happened in whispers. I crept, like I'd been trained. I hadn't planned on using my military skills at a family gathering, but here we were. My boots were silent on the wood floors. I'd memorized every creak in the house when I was a kid, and now that knowledge was coming in handy. I slipped into the guest bedroomy temporary base and pulled the small gear case from under my duffel. Mini recorder, 2 button mics, 1 pen cham, all legal in Texas, mostly. I planted the first mic in the sitting room deep in the vase, no one ever moves. The second one went under the dining room table. I clipped the pen cam behind the bar shelf, angled straight at the entry to the study. At 6:37 a.m., the recorder buzzed. Voices. I grabbed my phone, heart pounding, plugged in my earbuds, and hit play. It was Mom. Denise. No, I told the doctor what to put down. We don't want people snooping. He gets to die with dignity, and we get to move on. It's clean. A second voice. Troy. He doesn't look like he's dying, though. He was sitting up last night. Which is why we move faster, Denise said. The DNR has to be filed before Friday. I'm not having him bounce back and start questioning things. You understand? Troy. Got it. Then Kimberly chimed in. Do we really need the main estate? Sell it. Airbnb the hell out of it. I wanted to rip my headphones out. Instead, I pressed pause and rewound. The DNR has to be filed before Friday. That was Thursday. They were trying to make my grandfather legally unrevivable by the next day. I slipped out of my room and beelined straight for the kitchen. I hadn't even poured the second cup when Kimberly walked in. She saw me and blinked. "Oh, you're up. Guess so?" She opened the fridge. "Mom says we're having dinner with the lawyer tonight." "Oh, I'll be there," I said casually. Family unity and all that. Kimberly gave me a fake smile salute and wandered out. I chugged the rest of my coffee and went to Grandpa's room. He was awake. I leaned down. "They're doing it," I said. "The DNR. They're actually doing it. They want it signed by tomorrow." His hand twitched slightly. "I planted mics," I whispered. "I've got it all recorded. But we need more. You need to show them you're not gone." He blinked once. A slow, tired kind of blink. I pulled up the audio again. Let it play low by his ear. Let him hear how his daughter talked about him like an expired coupon. Still nothing. I leaned back in the chair, angry. I wanted to shake him awake, yell, make him fight. But the truth was, the real fight hadn't started yet. Dinner that night smelled like performance. I sat at the far end of the long oak table, close enough to hear, far enough to be ignored. Denise sat at the head, naturally. She tapped her wine glass and nodded for Mr. Graysoner, family lawyer, to begin. He cleared his throat. "First, let me say, I'm truly sorry about Mr. Callahan's health." Denise placed a hand over her heart. "Thank you, Paul." He continued. "As per your request, I've prepared the necessary documents to initiate property evaluations." Kimberly leaned forward. "So this means we can start selling?" "Not selling," Denise corrected. "Positioning. Optics matter." "I couldn't help it," I snorted. Heads turned. "Something funny?" Troy asked. "Just wondering how many people start dividing a man's estate while he's still alive upstairs," I said. Denise didn't flinch. "He would want this done properly. With dignity. He'd want to be asked first." I shot back. Kimberly cut in, bored. "Why are you even here, Harper? No one invited you." "I'm part of the family, last I checked." "You left the family when you joined the military," she snapped. "Enough," Denise said. "This is business." 1. "Is that what you told yourself when you ordered the DNR?" I asked. Everything stopped. "Denise?" She smiled. "I don't know what you think you heard, but there's no DNR on file." "Yet," I said. "I have it recorded." Silence. "Get out," Denise said. Her tone wasn't angry. It was something worse, tired of pretending. "I'm not going anywhere," I replied. I grabbed my phone and walked out. I ended up in the garage, sat on the cool cement floor beside Grandpa's old truck. I pressed play again on the recorder. "If the DNR isn't filed by Friday, we lose momentum," Denise's voice echoed. "They didn't want him dead because he was dying. They wanted him dead because he was inconvenient." Later, I returned to his room. He was asleep, maybe. I sat beside him. "They're lying, Grandpa, but I'm not giving up on you." His fingers twitched. I kept talking about old memories, about fixing that truck. And when I looked up, his eyes were open. Just barely. "Harper," he whispered. That was all. But it was enough. His voice barely touched the air. "You saw it?" Grandpa asked. "I heard it. I recorded it," I whispered. "Denise is moving fast." He blinked slowly. "Didn't think she'd bury me alive to get it." "She's not just burying you," I said. "She's erasing you." I helped him sit up. His eyes sharpened. "Attic," he rasped. "Top drawer of the desk. Key." I grabbed the key and went up. Dust thick enough to coat my boots. Tucked behind old boxes was a narrow, fireproof file cabinet. I opened it. More documents, more proof, financial records, email printouts, copies of checks Denise had written to herself, labeled as advance inheritance, a full paper trail of quiet betrayal. I was holding their secrets. By the time I came back down, Grandpa had drifted off again. That evening, Kimberly knocked on my door. "You have a minute?" "He's my grandfather," I said flatly when she mentioned me spending time with him. "He's mine too," she said. "Look, I know things have been tense." "Tense? You're planning his estate sale and calling it family dinner." "He's dying, Harper." "No," I said. "He's not dying. He's watching. And he sees everything." Kimberly studied me. "Just remember, if you think you're smarter than Mom, you're already behind." When she left, I locked the door. I pulled out the new documents and started scanning them. The file labeled Medical Proxy caught my eye. A copy of the unsigned DNR request. And behind it, a medical directive from Grandpa dated 2 months earlier requesting complete treatment signed in his handwriting. They'd buried this. They weren't just skipping his consent. They were overriding it. Suddenly, I wasn't scared of Denise. I was done being afraid of anyone. The next morning, I went straight to Grandpa's room. He was awake, sitting up straighter. "You found the papers from the attic," he said. I nodded. "Found more than that. They delete what they don't like," he replied. "But they can't delete paper. You want me to bring this to a lawyer?" He shook his head. "Too early. I need a moment they can't stop. Something public." I stood up. "There's more, isn't there? You keep your real secrets closer than the attic." His mouth twitched, half smirk, half warning. I left the room and went to his office. I stepped inside and locked it behind me. I walked over to the armrest of the old leather chair and tugged. Click. A drawer popped open on the underside of the desk. Inside was a smaller safe, combination style. I already knew the code. Not his birthday, not mine, but Grandma's. The 11th of March, 1958. I turned the dial. It opened. Inside was a single manila folder, one flash drive, and a thick envelope labeled Singh. I opened the envelope first. The original will. My name at the top. But the signature lines at the bottom for him, for the witnesses, were all empty. He hadn't signed it. He was waiting. The flash drive was next. I plugged it into his old laptop. Audio files, video clips, recordings, all time-stamped. I clicked play on one. Denise's voice. "It's better if he doesn't make it past August. The fiscal year gets messy otherwise. Kimberly. What if Harper gets in the way?" Denise. "She won't. She's always been sentimental. She'll cry, then leave. Like always." This. I didn't even blink. I copied the files. All of them. When I walked out of the study, the house was still quiet. I went back to Grandpa and held up the unsigned will. He smiled faintly. "You found it. You've got everything you need now," I said. "And so do I." His fingers tapped the blanket. "What about the lawyer?" "I'll set the meeting." "Where?" "Neutral ground. Town courthouse." He chuckled. "You think like a soldier." "No," I said. "I think like someone who's been screwed over enough to know better." The second I stepped out of Grandpa's room, I caught movement near the stairwell, just a flash of a white shirt. Kimberly. Let her wonder. Instead, I walked straight to the nurse's quarters. Melissa Brown had been Grandpa's private nurse for 3 months. Former Army medic. I knocked. She opened it instantly. "I figured you'd come to me eventually," she said. "I know about the DNR push," I said. "I know it's fake." End of crest. She didn't blink. "I've seen both documents. I filed the real one myself in my locked case." I exhaled. "You think they'll go through with it?" "Depends how greedy they are. Or how scared. They're both." I pulled out my flash drive. Recordings. From him, from them, and the signed will. "That's dangerous stuff. That's survival. I need someone I can trust, who's in the house." She studied me. "What's your end game?" "Truth, first. Then justice." Melissa nodded slowly. "I can help. But Denise offered me a bonus. To streamline care." Mayaf clenched. "Meaning?" "Meaning I was supposed to reduce meds, avoid hospital transports, keep him comfortable until he wasn't breathing anymore." "And you said no?" "I said I'd think about it. Then I started documenting everything." I smiled. "We make a good team. Don't get cozy. This isn't over." She handed me back the flash drive. I went for a walk and saw Kimberly on the phone. "She's getting in the way. I told you this would happen if we let her stay." Pause. "I don't care if she has documents. She won't use them unless she wants to blow everything up. And she doesn't have it in her." I crouched behind the hedge, heart cold. She didn't know me at all. I went back to Grandpa's room. He was awake again. "She's nervous," I said. He didn't ask who. "They're watching me. They think I'm bluffing." His voice came out like gravel. "Are you?" "Number." And this time, I meant it. That night, I played the long game. At 3:12 a.m., the mic under the dining room table lit up. Denise's voice. "You need to find it," she hissed. Troy replied. We've checked his room. Twice. If it exists, it's not there. Denise. Then she has it. We can't move forward with this if there's a new will. Troy. So what's the play? Denise. Make her leave. Or break her. We stage something. Emotional exhaustion. Maybe claim she's unstable. She's ex-military. People expect it. I hit record. Gaslighting. Weaponizing my service. By breakfast, Denise was back to playing warm hostess. She turned to me with a practiced smile. Harper, you look tired. Are you sleeping well? Like a baby, I said. One that's trained to wake up at gunshots. Later, in Grandpa's room, Melissa was there. I set the small recorder on the nightstand. Grandpa's eyes opened. They're coming apart, he said. Because you made them nervous, I said. We listened silently as his daughter plotted to break me. When it ended, he looked older. She used to cry when she skinned her knee, he whispered. I stepped outside and dialed the number for Anthony Pratt, a local attorney. Harper Ellison, he answered. I've got a situation, I said. I need someone smart, fast, and not afraid of powerful families. That's all I do these days. Then, I'll send you something. And if you're interested, I'll need you here tomorrow. Send the files, he said. I hung up and uploaded the audio and scans. Back inside, Denise stormed into Grandpa's room. Dad, we need to talk. I've been trying to manage everything, but Harper has made that impossible. She's been unstable. His eyes stayed on the window. Dad, do you hear me? He didn't look at her. Just said, I hear too much lately. Then you know we're just trying to do what's best for you. No, he said flatly. You're trying to do what's best for you. Denise stepped out moments later. She didn't even look at me. Melissa gave me a look. You got her rattled. Good, I said. Because from now on, I wanted them rattled. Constantly. By midday, the house felt tighter. Denise had cut the air conditioning. My coffee mug was gone. My protein bars had vanished. Kimberly walked into the kitchen. You look tired, she said. You look like someone who just Googled how to hide financial fraud in probate court. She smiled. Mom thinks you should head back to base. I didn't come for a visit. Later, I walked onto the back porch and almost collided with Troy. He was on the phone. She's gonna blow this up, he whispered. He turned suddenly, saw me, and went pale. You get all that? I asked. Look, Harper, he said. This isn't personal, but you're not helping him. So you'll just euthanize him to simplify paperwork? He stiffened. Don't twist my words. Don't make it so easy. I walked past him. Back in Grandpa's room, Melissa nodded toward the window. Denise was walking toward the house. She stepped in. I don't know what she's told you, she began to Grandpa. But you need to remember who's been here. Me, not her. Grandpa blinked slowly.